Do you swing at those pesky little curveballs below the strike zone all the time? Are you someone who just free swings at everything in or out of the strike zone and just end up striking out a ton? I'm going to give you a tried and proven method that I gave last year to people to help you stop swinging at those curveballs, sliders outside the strike zone. The goal is to recognize what is a curveball, slider, whichever breaking ball as soon as possible, so you can get better at deciding to swing at them or not. And this drill that I'm going to show you today is going to really help you practice those breaking balls and help you get better at hitting them. Let's get into it. So we're going to go in the custom practice. So you go in the main menu, custom practice. This is your best friend in terms of practicing and getting better at hitting. And this is going to allow us to do our specific drill. And since we are practicing breaking balls, we want to choose players that we're going to face with a lot of breaking balls. So if you go to the ground breakers, play against this team, there are a few old school pitchers with a lot of curveballs and such, and we're going to practice against them. Use whichever team you want. It is entirely up to you, whoever you want to take some swings with. Now that we are in custom practice, we're going to go into batting practice, and we have basically two pitcher options on this team I would recommend to at least start. Juan Marichal or Cy Young. Reason we want to face them, they have a lot of breaking balls. We're going to go against Juan Marichal because he has a slider. No matter which pitcher you want to face, we're going to turn off every fastball they have. The four seam, the two seam, the cutter, sinker. Those pitches we are going to turn off from the pitch requests. Main reason is we're going to start practicing these breaking balls, recognizing the movement on these pitches, and starting to decide whether or not we should be swinging at them. Now that we have that on, we're just going to use the first few minutes of this, start looking the balls into the zone, and get a gauge on the movement of these pitches. Start to understand how a curveball moves differently than a screwball, how a slider moves differently from a curveball. We're going to get our reps, watch the ball into the zone. We're looking for the breaking point, where the pitch kind of changes from that straight fastball path to a curveball or slider. And each pitch, it is different, and it also depends on where a pitch is located. A good pitch location is going to keep that pitch looking like a fastball as long as possible, and that's why it's a good pitch. It deceives you. But we're going to use this to practice and try to recognize that. Look for where the ball starts to break down, starts to break right. That happens in every single pitch, every single breaking ball, and the better we can get at recognizing these things, it'll really help you as a hitter. Speaking of which, another thing you can do in this moment is practice reading the ball into the zone with your PCI. Start the PCI where the pitcher is throwing, follow the ball into the zone. This will help you get the muscle memory of controlling your PCI, but it'll also get you a good gauge on where these pitches go and recognizing where your opponent is consistently throwing these pitches. A lot of people throw these sliders, curveballs, wherever, in similar parts of the zone, usually that lower half of the strike zone, to get you to, think they're fastballs and then chase. So start to recognize where these pitches are thrown. Sliders down to the right of the strike zone with righty pitchers. Curveballs will be likely in the same part or even lower outside the zone. Changeups will be basically thrown anywhere. Start to get a gauge of where these pitches are going to be thrown regularly by the CPU, by your opponents, and it'll really help you guess those pitches correctly. And once you get comfortable, once you've watched pitches for a few minutes and you start to recognize how each pitch moves differently, where they're being consistently thrown, we're going to start to take our swings. This is going to be the time where we start to really test our recognition. We want to make sure we're swinging at strikes. We want to make sure we're putting up good swings on strikes, especially if these curveballs and sliders are hung in the zone. We want to make sure we are hitting these pitches hard because they are very hittable pitches. So start getting some swings in now. Wait for some pitches that are strikes. Make sure you're hitting those breaking balls hard and starting to recognize what pitch is what and choosing to swing or not. And then when you get a bunch of swings in, you start to feel good. Now we're going to add the fastballs back to the mix, and this is a big deal, especially if you have a pitcher with a sinker. Now we're going to start to recognize how the fastballs move alongside with these, and especially when you are including a fastball in your pitch mix, now you have to be ready to swing earlier all the time. If you're not ready to hit a fastball, you're going to be late on it all the time. That's a consistent problem. You want to be ready to swing at those fastballs, and then when you recognize a curveball, slowing down and timing the breaking balls properly. That is going to help you get better as a hitter. Seeing those fastballs, picking up out of the hand what is a breaking ball and deciding whether to swing or not, slowing down to those breaking balls, that'll help you a lot as a hitter. So make sure you get your swings in with the fastballs included. And get your reps, get your practice. This will really help you get better at this. Get your swings Custom practice is your best friend at getting better. And if you start to feel comfortable, you start to feel good, raise difficulty. I started on All-Star difficulty. If you're brand new, this is probably a good way to start because All-Star is the baseline for online play. If you start feeling comfortable, bump it up to Hall of Fame, bump it up to Legend. Whatever you do, make sure you play on a difficulty that is more relevant to where you're playing the game often. But if you start feeling really good, bump it up just for the sake of practice. You even go back to the main menu and raise up the pitch speed sliders. So you go back here into your settings, and you could actually turn up the speed of the breaking balls and the fastballs. And this will force you to react quicker. It'll help you practice that reaction time. It's a good way to practice to an absurd level that is hard to actually do well with. And get your swings, get your reps, and it'll help you get better at recognizing these breaking balls out of the zone. If you want to see my other hitting tips video I posted with more settings, hitting strategy, and tips to get you better at hitting, make sure you check out that video up here. That video will be very valuable to you alongside this drill. Help you start crushing that ball in MLB The Show 22. Make sure you swing by the stream if you have any questions. I do stream every day on Twitch, twitch.tv/Scann. If you want to ask me any questions, if you have any concerns, I can try to help you out there. But I appreciate you all watching. You all have a great rest of your day. Make sure you check out the rest of the videos on the channel if you are trying to get better at the game. And I'll see you all again in the next one. Deuces.